She's outspoken. She's not afraid to ask tough questions. She's not afraid to speak her mind. You've read her column. Maybe you're a fan on Facebook. No topic is off limits. Straight to the point. There's no chaser. You're now watching Straight Talk with Carla Zuill.
And we're back. With us, we have in studio Mr. Io Johnson. Now, Io, before the break, you were saying that one problem that you have is that privileged white people do not seem to stand up for human rights. Care to expand on that?
In particular, when it comes to racial issues of race, okay, and it was in the context of the Gazette and my relationship with Bill Zuill when I was there. It's true that he was as a leader, a drastic improvement on what came before. Mm-hmm. You know, when taken in total, okay. But with the Nancy Acton, recall that Nancy Acton was a white Bermudian elderly lady who was a lifestyle reporter, correct? Excellent writer. You know, I mean, we were friends too. You know, she was found out to have sent an email referring to Billy Griffith, the former director of tourism. And I'm trying to remember the exact wording, but I can't right now. It's a few years ago. Bottom line is, you know, she was reported to the Human Rights Commission for racial discrimination. Okay, the Bermuda Sun actually had the story and had the email. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we, in the entire community, including the people who worked next to her, woke up to read this thing in the Sun. I actually had the story. I was working, trying to verify this, trying to get the email myself before I was going to actually confront her and say, what's going on, you know? Because I think as journalists, if we're going to make people accountable, we should start within. The responsibility part is, as journalists, okay, we really are about freedom of expression. Okay, which is a fundamental human rights. We're about making sure that everybody understands that this is a fundamental human rights. Okay, because we know that oppressive systems and oppressive societies, the first thing they do is try to silence people.
So
okay,
how do we do that?
So we really should be in the forefront.
But how do we do that when I've had examples in my career as a journalist where about to do a story and then a huge advertiser, for example, says, well, you do that story about our product, for example, we're going to pull all of the advertising. Your hands almost seem tied.
Well, you know what? That's the reason why I'm starting Think Media. Okay. The need for an independent media outlet is obvious to even your 4-year-old. You know, it should be anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's such a glaring thing in this society. You know, it's small, power and money are concentrated, okay, and the very same people who might be sustaining your work as a journalist, okay, are the same people that you might be having to investigate mm-hmm. and make accountable. So it's a very clear conflict of interest, basically, at the end of the day, if your model centers around the advertiser.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Think Media. Okay,
so well, let's talk about a legacy system first. Okay, so the legacy system is supposed to be this Chinese wall between editorial and advertising. But as you've just said, and as I know, I've had one too many conversations with editors or in the last case, a CEO about what the advertisers want. You know, you're not supposed to talk to me about that stuff. Okay, so the pressure is intense, you know. So an independent media outlet, which is what I am creating, is one that is not subject to advertiser or political influences. So powerful economic or political influences do not impact on independence of the editorial.
So without revealing your business model, how will you survive financially since we are driven by advertising dollars?
Okay, well, clearly, if I'm going to be independent from powerful economic and political forces, then I have to find another way of generating revenue. Okay, or at the very least, if I do get into the advertising space, it is protected by ironclad agreements you know, where
one will not hinder the other.
Exactly, where they know that if they even think about interfering with editorial, you know, then there's a penalty to be paid, you know. So I would not waste my energy and time soliciting funds from, I don't know, HSBC, the government of Bermuda, or, you know, there's the very institutions that have dominated Bermudian lives, you know, right, that we should be investigating all the time and having a healthy skepticism towards. I won't spend that energy that I should be spending producing content, you know, begging them for money or trying to come up with some scheme, you know. Instead, we're going to depend directly on the audiences and the readers. Okay, because this is something that I know Bermudians have said they've been wanting for a long time. Independent journalism. We know that, you know. And I think people have, now that we have the technology, and this is why I say it's not, you know, the options are not limited,
right.
because the technology opens it up for us. It means that the barriers to entry don't exist. Okay, so to answer your question briefly in terms of the business model, it's got to be experimental until we hit that sweet spot of sustainability. Okay, but it will develop with and in association with the audiences I plan to serve. Okay.
Now, talking about audiences, you just said yes, that people are ready. Bermudians are ready for independent journalism.
I'm counting on it.
Well, I was going to say, people have said there's a need, but are they ready for it? I mean, do you feel that the local demographic, whether they're Bermudian or not, are they ready to hear what's the truth?
Well, clearly, if the value they place on my work, our work, and our mission will be reflected by the success of the enterprise. You know what I'm saying? You know, in other words, or in the other way around, actually, the success of the enterprise will depend on the value they place on the work and its mission. Okay, so, you know, I'm easy either way. I'm just going to go out there and produce high quality, high integrity journalism. Okay, and it's not just Bermuda, you know. I'm building something that's global. The technology gives us access to the world, you know, and there's a community, a global community that Bermudians are a part of, that many Bermudians may not realize they're part of that community until they're brought together on the space that we're creating now.
Okay. And we're going to take a break, but we'll be back with more after this.
They can't fire us all, you know, so why don't we all just speak up and tell truth, speak truth to power, you know? And I understand it's kind of hard to do, you know. I am ready to be the only one for a while.
More Straight Talk after these messages.